Yo guys, I'm back with another guide. This time it's going to be a Twitch guide. Twitch is in a kind of weird state at the moment where he's a really good late game hyper carry, but you need to try and survive the laning phase, and that can be really hard. So let's get into his runes to start off with. His best rune page is pretty standard for most ADCs at the moment because you want the sustain, so you take Fleet Footwork, Overheal, Bloodline, Coup de Grace, and then Gathering Storm for the late game AD. So your crits do even more, and Celerity for like movement speed, and you get a little bit of AD when you build the attack speed items. And then there's another rune page there's another rune page where you go the same in the first tree, but you could also go press the attack if you wanted to, but that would be the only thing that would change. And then you go Sudden Impact and Relentless Hunter, and this is more for like the early mid-game skirmishes. Sure, you're going to be doing a load of late-game damage, but this is more so you have a bit more early-game damage in comparison to the Fleet Footwork page. And now, his items are going to be pretty standard as far as ADCs go, because it's just going to be triple crit. You want to get a BF or pickaxe early game, and then go into your Runards and finish off your Runards with just having the BF or pickaxe from the IE. Then you can finish boots off if you feel like you need to, and then finish off your IE, and then get a Shiv. When you've got those holy trinity of crit items, the Runards, IE, Shiv on Twitch anyway, you can get a Last Whisper if you're against a load of tanks who are stacking armor, a Merc Scimitar if they've got a load of CC, or like just a Sedge or Warwick or Malzul that you kind of have to respect. Or you can also get a GA if you're against like an assassin, but assassins aren't too common at the moment, so I wouldn't really recommend it. Unless, you know, there are assassins, and then build it. Okay, now that that's out the way, let's get on to Twitch's abilities. His passive is Deadly Venom, where his auto attacks will leave a tick of true damage that does 1 to 5 depending on his level. Twitch's Q is Ambush. He goes invisible or stealthed, and whilst he's stealthed he gets 10% movement speed, and as he's walking towards enemy champions it goes to 30% extra movement speed. When he comes out of invisibility, he gets a bonus attack speed for 5 seconds, which scales from 30% to 50% with level. Do note that this also has a reset mechanic where if you get a kill or an assist that was affected by your passive, you will get your Q again. Its W is Venom Cask, which slows enemies in a circle and applies stacks of his passive on them. This is kind of good to catch people out. If you throw this spell where you know they're going to be walking to get away from you, then you can force a flash, or if they don't have flash then it could be a kill. Another use for this is just using it on the wave to quickly push out a wave if you want to back. Twitch's E deals physical damage depending on how many stacks of his passive you have on the enemy champion. Do note that you can have stacks of your passive on 1 to 5 champions, as long as they're within a certain radius. When you press E you will deal damage to all of them. And finally, Twitch's ultimate is Spray and Pray. He gains extra attack damage, 20, 30, 40 depending on your ultimate's rank, and 300 bonus range. This spell is really what makes Twitch such a late game teamfight hyper carry beast, because you can attack people from so far away, mixed with your Runards, you're going to be dealing loads of AoE damage. You press E, Contaminate, you deal a load of extra damage, and it's just really fucking hard to play against. One thing to note is that these auto attacks can go through champions and hit other champions, so you can hit the front line and be hitting the back line as well by accident, but these auto attacks can also be dodged because it's almost a projectile. Your auto attacks turn into like a projectile, so that's something to keep in mind when playing against high mobility champion. Your ultimate, and the last thing to talk about when it comes to Twitch's abilities really, is little things that you can do with his Q. Whilst being invisible, if you press Q and then B straight after whilst your invisibility is channeling, you can back whilst being invisible, which is a nice little trick. The other one is that you can use spells whilst invisible, like Flash, but you can't use your W or your E because it will reveal you. So if you ever want to get away, like, it's a nice little thing to know that you can flash whilst being invisible. Twitch's laning phase is probably the worst laning phase out of any ADC, even weaker than something like a Vayne. So realistically, all you want to be doing is trying to farm up for the late game. When you hit 3 items, you are possibly the strongest ADC, at least in my opinion. You can hard carry the most games once you've got 3 items. So in the laning phase and throughout the laning phase, you don't really want to be doing too much. You want to be punishing them for overstepping, sure, but you don't really want to be making too many plays. As you'll see in a clip a little bit later on in this little section of the video, I kind of step up to try and catch them out with my invisibility, and I get flash hooked by a Thresh. Fortunately, I had a pre-made support who I trust and I know is very good, so he pretty much saved my fucking ass. So in my opinion, you really don't want to be looking for any mad plays, you know, these montage plays that you see other people doing on Twitch late game. You don't want to be trying to do any of that shit early game. You want to be farming up, get your AD item, your BF or your pickaxe, farm up some more, get your rune ons, and just clear wave, clear wave. Try and not lose any towers, try not to bleed too much, because when you hit 3 items and you get a little bit of a flank, or even if it's just hitting the front line, you know, you will deal a load of damage with that ship crit. As far as matchups go, in my opinion, every matchup is kind of a bad matchup for Twitch, but I feel like the worst ones are the kill lanes, because don't really have anything to stop people from getting on you. So you have to either rely on your support like I do, because I have a pre-made support, or just try and respect the kill lanes. So anything like a Tristana, a Alistar, a Rakan, a Xayah, you know, these champions with the potential to kill you really are quite bad for Twitch, and he really struggles in them, especially if they push the wave as well. Something like a Caitlyn is also really hard for a Twitch to play against, and in all these kind of hard matchups where they're going to be poking, they're going to be like poking a little bit, you know, kill lanes can still poking and shoving. You really want to start a Doran's Shield and just try to not go too far behind, because when you hit 3 items, as I said before, you will absolutely destroy them. Now, Twitch in the mid game is a lot better than Twitch in the early game. You're starting to get some AD, you've probably got your rune-ons, well no, you should have your rune-ons, and you're starting to be able to just clear out waves a lot quicker than what you could before. Now what this allows you to do is push out a wave and then roam, because with Twitch, you're an ADC with invisibility. It's awfully hard to try and track him. Even if they've got a ward, say, in the river and they see you go invisible, you could easily fake it out and come back to lane and like look for a kill on them. Like there's a lot you can do, but especially with the second rune page where you've got sudden impact and relentless hunter for the more movement speed out of combat, you can roam up the river to mid lane really quickly and catch a mid laner off guard, because they don't expect an ADC at 20 to 15 minutes to be roaming up and trying to kill them. They just won't expect it. It's not the norm. So that is the main thing that you want to be doing in the mid game, is pushing out a wave, going mid, pushing out a wave, maybe trying to look for a cheese on the enemy. What you don't want to be doing is trying to stealth behind people, press play on that montage music, press R and try and pap the fuck out of their backline, because you're not going to be strong enough yet. Mid game you will, unless you're really fed. If you're really fed, of course, it's different. It doesn't, what I'm saying kind of doesn't count as much if you get really fed, but this is assuming that you do not get really fed and that you're just even, maybe a little bit ahead, maybe a little bit behind. So you still don't want to be going up behind people, pressing R and trying to pap the fuck out of their backline, because you won't have the damage to do it yet, and they will probably turn on you and kill you. So at this point you just want to be pushing out waves, roaming up to mid, maybe roaming into the jungle with the support and the jungler if you've got a ward, looking for objectives. This is when you can start contesting stuff and feeling a bit comfortable about it, because you're not really weak anymore. You know, you can hold your own now. Okay, so now Twitch in the late game. I'm rubbing my hands together because Twitch in the late game is like a spaghetti that no one has touched. That spaghetti's there for you. Twitch in the late game is probably the fucking scariest ADC to play against. Maybe Vayne, but you know, Vayne takes a little bit of skill. This guy can just go invisible and shred your entire team in like less than 5 seconds with all of his AoE, his range. It's absolutely terrifying. So if you've played up till the late game pretty well, you're going to have 4 items, maybe 5 items, you know, it depends, the late game, uber late game, it depends where you are in the game. But you will be able to absolutely destroy and shred through their carries. Now if their carries aren't fed, and if they don't have like 3 tanks or 3 assassins, you should be able to try and find a flank. And what you want to do, it's not as simple as just going up behind someone and pressing R and blowing them up. Like, sure it is if it's just one, but there's no point going up behind them. But in a team fight, you want to wait until they commit. You want to wait until the enemy team kind of commits, and once they press that trigger, once they press those buttons and they commit to that fight, they start to dive in, and it has to be for like 0.5 seconds. You want to use wherever you've been, like you want to be chilling on the side, you want to go invisible. You need to be quick though, you want to go invisible, or already have been invisible, and get like a flank and just hit the back line like 3 times as quick as you can. It should be enough, it definitely should be enough. Like, the mid laner might have Zangus, but you should be able to kill maybe like the ADC, or just even if you just deal a load of damage. But the enemy team is going to notice that you are threatening their backline, and they should, most of the time, unless they're absolute bonobos, and you can't assume that they are, they're going to turn and try and run after you, so you might want to back off a little bit, but then that gives your team a chance to step up. Most of the time though, you're just going to absolutely blow up their backline and then focus straight onto the front line. The problem with this though is if they turn on you fast enough, you are on your own as an ADC. So it's not always wise to look for flanks, it depends on the team, you know, you have to get a feel for the game. I can't go through every single team comp that you can do this against, and what situations, because League of Legends has way too many variables. However, whichever one you choose, late game, you're going to be dealing a stupid amount of damage, so you can probably just sit behind your front line and throw damage at their team. You know, as I said before, earlier on in the video, your ultimate, the AoE, the range, is going to end up clipping carries, especially with the range. You can actually choose to hit the carries from behind your front line. He's that strong, he's got that range, he can do that. But anyway, that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoy it. It's a different kind of format to the way I normally do guides, so let me know what you think about it. Drop a sub if you enjoyed, drop a thumbs up, comment telling me what video you want to do next. I'm thinking Xayah or Ezreal. These are 2 champions that I'm playing a lot of at the moment. And yeah, thank you for watching the video, I appreciate it loads, and have a great day.